Hello, hello, my lovely and glorious angels. Okay, so today we're going to be doing a little bit of talking and then we'll be doing a little bit of moving. So go ahead and grab yourself a nice hot cup of tea or coffee if you'd like. You could get something cold, but something hot is preferable. Scientific studies do show that holding something like a hot cup of coffee or tea um, can increase your feelings of intimacy. It's almost like holding a hand. And so, in a time where we struggle to find intimate moments in the world, it can help to increase those feel good chemicals if you do grab a hot cup of tea or coffee while we chat. So, today's topic is going to be something that might not seem very important at first, but once we talk a little bit more about it, I think you'll understand why I felt like it was necessary to make an entire video about the subject, and like it's very necessary for this video to come before any active practices of ours, especially in home practice, because we don't have a professional yoga instructor there with us to maybe, notice alignment issues or something like that. It is even more important that we are in tune and in touch with our bodies so that we can hear our alarm systems communicating our soft and hard ends to us, right? And so, a few tips to get you started before you even make it to your yoga mat. We're going to talk about the process of getting to your yoga mat and why this process is often overlooked, but in my personal opinion, the most important part of the process. And like, if you do yoga with Adriene, she'll even say, you made it to your yoga mat, you did the hard part. And she's not wrong. She's not wrong. But also, how we make it to our yoga mat can be really, really great. So, I like to start my yoga before I even hit the mat by beginning the check in process with myself. First of all, I would like to point out that doing yoga on a regular basis is much better than doing yoga less frequently. But one of the reasons that most of us struggle to get to the mat on a regular basis, might be, in my personal case anyways, was because I felt like every time I got to the yoga mat, I had to enforce these expectations on myself, right? And say, well, now that I'm here, I have to really work out or I have to really hit it hard. And that really made it hard for me to get into the habit because there would be days where I couldn't, and then for me, it would be better to avoid my yoga mat altogether than to not meet up to my expectations, right? So this process of coming to our yoga mat can change the way that we treat ourselves when we're on our yoga mat. So if we could start checking in with ourselves before we even get to the mat to say, hey, what am I in the mood for? The thing about it is that, of course, we all want to reap the physical benefits of yoga, right? Like, of course, we all want to get stronger, we all want to feel vital, and we all want to have more energy. We all want these wonderful physical benefits. But the only way to get to those physical benefits is to have a daily practice. And the only way to have a daily practice is to allow ourselves to be human in our daily practice, right? So that means we can come to the mat one day and recognize that we're feeling tired or we're feeling overwhelmed or we're feeling anxious, and maybe a really heat, fire, solar practice would not really be for us that day. But how will we know? How will we know until we check in with ourselves? So this check-in process allows us to start kind of figuring out what kind of practice we're in the mood for, as well as allowing us to come back to our yoga mat on a regular basis, because we are doing this check-in practice and we do know when we get to our mat what we need. And when you come back to your mat on your regular basis, you will notice the benefits, even if you don't feel. I don't want to say can't, because you can if you want, but why would you? Why would you push yourself like that? You don't have to. Even if you don't feel like doing something really super aerobic today. You're still going to make it to your mat. And in my personal experience, creating that kind of practice for myself allowed me to come to my mat every single day. And in coming to my mat every single day, I would have days where I was like, you know what, I do feel like doing this kind of practice today. Whereas before I started practicing in this manner, before I started my yoga teacher training, which really changed the way that I looked at my daily practice, I would go months without doing my yoga. And during those months, there had to be days where I was up for doing a rigorous practice, but I would just go months without doing anything because I wasn't in a habit. So because I wasn't in the habit of checking in with myself either, I didn't even notice the days passed by. So yeah, checking in with yourself and allowing yourself to be human when you get to the mat is the number one way to make sure that you do your practice every day and you reap those physical benefits that bring a lot of us to the mat. But it's also the number one way to make sure that we reap the emotional benefits that maybe don't bring us to the mat, but are really the foundations of yoga. Yoga is much more about the way it impacts the mind, and the physical benefits are just kind of a bonus, right? So a few things that you can do before you get to your yoga mat to start this process of checking in with ourselves and seeing, hey, what are we in the mood for today? What adventure are we going to choose, right? I always start with my clothes, right? When I wake up, I do my practice first thing in the morning. For me, I find that to be best because it puts me in the right headspace for the rest of the day, and I'm really ready to conquer the day, right? So, sorry, I talk so fast that I lost my breath a little bit. So, so I'll start with my clothes, right? Like today you see me in my warm and fuzzy sweater, and I've got my favorite blankie with me. It's super, super warm. It's got that Sherpa fleece, the cruelty-free Sherpa fleece, and and apparently it's got some wrapping on it. This blanket, it's the blanket I use in my bed, and I kind of carry it around the house when I'm cold. So it's my security blanket, okay? And thanks, Katie. So I've got my blanket. I've got my warm, cozy sweater on. It's freezing in Illinois today. It really is. It's very cold. And so I am listening to my body and understanding that I need warmth. I need coziness, right? So I'm already starting to collect some data about how I'm feeling today. And so another thing that I like to do is create playlists depending on the moods that I'm in. And I think for these videos, I will not really add music. I might add some nature sounds in later videos. But I think that I would really like to allow you guys to pick your music, and gals and non-binaries to pick your music. Because for me, that is one of my number one check-ins. Like, I have playlists depending on my mood. And so when I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, okay, what playlist am I in the mood for today? That's going to tell me almost everything I need to know about my mood. But everyone's different. So we can continue. You can ask yourself some questions like, would you like to light some candles? Right? I've got some candles lit right now. You can't even see them. There you go. Got some candles lit right now, right? Would I like to light some incense, which I've also got burning right now? The answer for me almost every day is yes. I would like to light some incense. I don't light candles every day, but I do light incense almost every day. Maybe you might ask yourself, would I like some aromatherapy, right? I do that every day before I start my practice. I'll put my aromatherapy on my wrists, my neck, and then I'll also put it on the inside so it doesn't stain, on the inside of whatever I'm wearing. If I'm wearing a cardigan, or my cardigans always smell delicious because of this. They really do. Like almost to the point to where I'm sad when I have to wash them, because I'm like, it smells so good. But I'll just put it back on. I have my own little roller ball, and I just maybe like once a month or whenever, usually like at a full moon or maybe like at a, like at a solstice or something like that, I might sit down and kind of think of what energies I would like to bring into my life that moon cycle or that season of my life, and then I will use essential oils that correspond with those energies, you know what I mean? So like if I'm looking for a more healing season, I might add like lavenders, and like jasmines. And well, I add patchouli to everything because I love patchouli. But, then maybe if I'm looking for like, a more fire type season, I know that I'm going to want to get a lot done this season. You know what I mean? Like this season, I'm about to make a new one. And this season I will need more fire because I'm getting ready to start my business. Right. So, um, that's a little tip. You don't even have to do that. You could just grab some lavender or grab some, lemongrass. You know what I mean? Just ask yourself what you're in the mood for. And that's going to be another great indicator of how you're feeling that day, right? And so, same thing goes with candles and incense. Ask yourself, what scent am I in the mood for? What tea am I in the mood for? Am I in the mood for some nice, fruit water, right? Do I need some hydration today? Do I need extra hydration? Or, maybe some matcha if you need a boost of energy. You know what I mean? Like all of these things are great because as you're making your way to the mat, you're already starting to do the calculations of, okay, where am I today? And you're creating this habit of checking in with yourself every day and saying, okay, where am I today? And so I'm so passionate about getting to your mat every day. And I know a lot of us won't be able to all the time, and that's totally fine. But I just can't say enough about making a daily practice important, even if all you do when you get to your mat is meditate. Or sometimes I'll come to my mat just to watch some philosophy videos on YouTube and just be here because of this check-in process that we're talking about, and because by the time I get to my mat, I've started to really settle in to the fact that I'm here for myself. This is my space, right? This is my self-care sanctuary. This mat can come with me anywhere I go, right? And so I can take my self-care sanctuary anywhere I go. And developing this relationship with the practice helps when we get to the mat. Having this like little check-in routine helps to start our brain working in that order, because the more you do this check-in routine, A, the faster it gets, right? And B, the more your brain starts settling into, okay, we're doing the check-in, so now that means we're about to be taking care of ourselves. We're about to be focusing on us for a minute. And so then when you get to the mat, it starts to, over time, not at first, it's going to be frustrating at first. At first, you're not going to be able to focus. And at first, you're going to feel like you're doing it wrong. But that's all part of the process, and you got to trust it. You got to trust it, because these feeling like you're doing it wrong and feeling like you're not able to focus are opportunities to meet ourselves with loving kindness and to meet ourselves with patience, but to also meet ourselves with like determination and self-discipline and say, I understand that this is hard, but you only get through things by practicing them. Right? We live in this culture, this society where it's like instant gratification, and it has robbed a lot of us of the art of consistency and honestly self-discipline to get at something every day over and over and chip away at it until it starts to become progress. We want progress immediately. But yoga on the mat helps us to understand that progress isn't always immediate off the mat either. So coming here every single day and chipping away at it. See, I like to look out my window. My window is right behind you guys. I like to look out my window and watch the seasons change. Because as I watch the seasons change, I can see myself coming here every day as the seasons are changing, and I'm watching chipping away at the progress, that I'm watching the outside world reflect the time that's passing inside this room, and it's freaking cool. So other than that, also, what was I going to say? I had a thought. It felt important. I don't remember, so maybe you'll come back to me. Another thing I wanted to suggest is maybe you need a refresher, right? So maybe you might splash your face with some cold water before you get here. Maybe you might, if you need a more refreshing, maybe you might like some mint, mint and grapefruit. Mint and rosemary and grapefruit, yes. Okay? Like all of these little tiny things are going to show us where we are in our day and what we're up for. And then the other trick to this is to meet whatever we come to with non-judgment. Like, we don't judge it, right? If we feel like sometimes you're going to go through whole weeks and maybe even months where you don't feel like having any fire and you don't feel like getting really active. You have to meet yourself with non-judgment about that. You have to come and say, if that's where we are, then that's where we are, and make a promise to yourself to honor where you are in the journey. Because I promise, this too shall pass. And so you might come to your mat for 3 months straight and not feel like you're up for choosing a fire practice, choosing you might come to your mat in your pajamas for a month, right? Let yourself do that. And then when you get here, do what you need to do. So if that means today, I really just need to lay down and do a really calming meditation, do that. Or if that means today, I really just need to sit and watch some mind expanding YouTube videos as self-care, then do that, right? Allow yourself to exist in this moment and allow this moment to become all about you in the best possible way. And then allow yourself to sink into that exact thing. This is all about me, and this is all about what I need, and this is all about giving myself what I need so that I am better to go back out into the world after I get off this mat. And so, I'm still having a hard time remembering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk us through a really great sequence that's super easy, super simple. And it's my favorite sequence to do if I made it to the mat and it's the only thing I can do. Like in yoga, they call it tapas, which is, that's going to bother me. Is it one of the yamas? I'm pretty sure it's one of the yamas. But tapas is basically just the self-discipline to make it to your mat. Self-discipline to follow your dharma. Self-discipline to, and your dharma is your sort of like your calling in life. It is one of the yamas. So yoga is actually way more than an exercise routine. It's actually just a full-on philosophy, and exercise is the only part that a lot of people in our culture have taken from it. But there's so much more to yoga. And honestly, if you're performing the exercise without all these other things, without all these 8 branches, there's 8 branches to yoga, and asana, or the exercise part, is only one of those 8 branches. And if you're only performing asana and you're not really learning anything about these other branches, you're honestly robbing yourself of a beautiful experience. So the yamas are lists of ways that the ancient yogis would live by, basically. And one of those yamas is tapas, and that's the self-discipline to do things that are hard when they're good for you, right? This is a new kind of self-care that we don't talk enough about. We love to talk about the self-care that's easy, like bubble baths and stuff like that, but sometimes self-care is getting out of bed and brushing your teeth and taking a shower when you're really depressed, right? The yogis would say that's your tapas. Your tapas are the things that maybe you don't want to do, but that you know are good for you. And the reason tapas have been so important to me is because yoga is the number one thing in my life that helps with my chronic pain, bar none. There's nothing. And I tried medication, I've tried herbs, I've tried, okay? If it's out there, I've tried it. Not hard drugs, but other than that, if it's out there, I've tried it. And honestly, everything I tried just made me feel like I was still struggling through the pain. And I've struggled with chronic pain for many years. And for many years, I knew that if I could just get to my yoga mat every day, I wouldn't hurt as much as I do. But I couldn't get there, right? And it was because what I was saying, I wasn't taking care of myself, and I wasn't. When I got to the mat, I was expecting too much from myself, basically. I wasn't doing these check-ins beforehand to see, well, how are you? Of course, I'm getting to the mat expecting myself in chronic pain to do these crazy, sun salutations and stuff like that just weren't working for my body in that particular moment in time. And so instead of keeping with the yoga, I was just not doing it. But when I started practicing my tapas, doing the things that are hard, and this also is karma. We're going to go into that in another video, but this is just karma. This is really what karma means. Everyone talks about karma like it's some kind of cosmic retribution. And I guess it can be sometimes, but real karma is in your daily actions. What are you doing in your daily actions? Sacred self-care, which is what we are here to learn about. Sacred self-care is practicing good karma in the best way possible. So good karma means taking care of yourself, even when it's hard, even when you don't want to. So I made it to the mat every day, even though it was hard, even though I didn't want to. And then I started coming into the practice of checking in with myself when I got there. And that's when it started getting fun for me. When my brain started realizing, I started healing my relationship with myself, with my body, and my brain started realizing, oh, we're here to listen. That's when yoga started to get a lot easier for me. And that's honestly when sun salutations started to get a lot easier for me, because my body wasn't fighting them, because my body knew, my brain and my body knew, oh, you're not going to make me. If I'm not in the place to do it, I'm not going to make myself. And so the anxiety started calming and stuff like that when I would get to my mat. So that's why this whole video is about just making it to our mat and the steps that we take to get there, and why those steps are almost more important than the practice itself. Because if we don't take these steps, the practice really might not be serving us the way it needs to serve us, right? So let's get started. We're going to do a little teeny tiny sequence. Like I said, it's one of my favorites. If I get to the mat and I can't do anything else that day, if I just can't bring myself to do anything at all, I do this. So let's see. Another question to ask yourself, a good question is, how are my hips feeling? Because like today, for instance, I'm sitting on 2 pillows, right? And I'm pretty much always sitting on at least one pillow. It's pretty rare that my hips, maybe with more practice, my hips will start to feel better, but feel looser. But I'm pretty much always sitting on at least one pillow. Today I'm sitting on 2 because I have already checked in with myself, right? So we're going to check in with ourselves about stuff like that. Do I need extra support today, right? Do I need a pillow to prop me up so that my low back isn't, rolling in if we're sitting down, right? And then we're finding it difficult to find this lifting up in the spine. Here, I'm going to move my blanket so you guys can see me a little better for this part. If we're sitting up and we're finding it difficult to find this lift in the spine, actually here. I love you. We'll see you soon. Finding it difficult to find this upward current of energy and this straightening of the spine, then we might bring ourselves a pillow or 2 or 3 or 4. It doesn't matter how many pillows we need to be able to sit up tall. Bring them and sit up tall. Allow yourself to receive accommodations. Allow yourself to receive support, right? Don't judge yourself about it, and don't judge yourself about judging yourself either, okay? If you catch yourself judging yourself, just say, hey, that's okay, man. That is data collected. Cool. I noticed that thought. I noticed that I was judging myself just now. I don't have to judge myself, but I noticed I was. Right, so here we are. We found our comfortable way to sit up nice and tall, whatever way that may be. Maybe we can't even sit up nice and tall on pillows and we need a chair. And so we go get one, right? So we're going to choose our own adventure. We're going to find a comfortable way to sit up nice and tall. Maybe we've got pillows. Maybe we've got a chair. Maybe we've got a yoga block. Maybe we folded up a favorite blanket and popped it under, right? I'm going to go ahead and move my sits bones aside, move the flesh aside from my sits bones so I can really come into contact with whatever supportive surface I am on. And I'm just going to go ahead and sit up nice and tall and start taking a few deep breaths. I just remembered what I was going to tell you guys, but I'm going to tell you after. I'm going to allow myself to start sinking into this moment here and maybe take a minute to recognize and enjoy whatever props, whatever supports I've put in place for myself today. Maybe I'm smelling the candles I've lit. Maybe I'm feeling the warm and cozy sweater I'm wearing. Maybe I'm hearing the relaxing music that I chose for myself. How nice was that of me? I am so nice to myself. Alrighty, so I am sitting up nice and tall, and I am enjoying, reveling, appreciating whatever I brought to the table today to nourish and care for myself. And taking that gratitude with me into my movement and taking that consideration of myself with me into my movement, right? I've started to consider myself, and I'm just going to keep that flowing. I'm going to start moving with my breath in some seated cat-cow. So as I inhale, I'm going to roll my chest forward, right? And really push my rib cage forward to do a nice heart opener, right? I'm going to focus on the sensation of pushing my rib cage forward, opening up through the chest and shoulders, opening up through the throat, right? This is a really great little throat chakra opener. And then as I exhale, woo, I'm going to round the spine back. Ooh, pushing into the back body, using my hands on my knees to allow myself to sort of traction back with gravity. And then I'm just going to take that little flow for a minute. So inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. And exhaling. One more time. Beautiful. I'm going to return myself to a neutral spine, and then I'm going to start taking a little side body stretch flow. And so basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to inhale and fold over one way or the other, whatever way I feel like moving. As we're taking these motions, exhaling back up to the neutral spine, inhaling over to the other side. Maybe you could, if you wanted to, sort of focus on how much more you can fill your lungs up on the side that you're stretching out. You're creating more space for your lungs in this process. So maybe, just maybe, if you are up for it, if it feels comfortable for you, you might be able to explore what that expansion of the lungs feels like, right? I'm going to take a couple more of these. Wonderful. Coming back up to a neutral spine, the last thing that we're going to do is a nice little twist. Now, this won't be quite the same like vinyasa flow, although you could, if you wanted to, flow in and out of a twist. I would only suggest that if you're more experienced and you are, you have spent a lot of time listening to your body, because twists can be a bit intense, and if you're pushing yourself in and out of them, in and out, and then in and out again, you might upset things. You might upset things. So we're going to take it just nice and slow. We're going to go ahead and inhale. Arms up, nice, lengthen the spine. And then as we exhale, we're going to go ahead and twist over, left or right, your choice. And then what we can do instead of this kind of vinyasa approach is, as we inhale, we can find that length again, right? And enjoying the extra space that length gives us to inflate our lungs. And then as we exhale, we can use this length to twist a little deeper, to surrender a little further into our twist. And then inhaling and exhaling, allowing ourselves to surrender. Inhaling, lengthening, maybe pulling the crown up, right? I've got a messy bun right on top of my head, so I can just imagine trying to touch the ceiling with my messy bun, and then exhaling deeper into my twist, okay? And then we can go ahead and allow ourselves back to neutral spine, shake it out a little bit, and then we're going to take the same move on the other side, even ourselves out, right? So inhaling up, exhaling into our twist. Inhaling, finding that length in the spine, and then exhaling, surrendering. Inhaling, length. Exhaling, twist. And we're not going to push ourselves, right? Inhaling, length. Exhaling, twist. We're being sure to listen to our body. Go ahead and find ourselves back to center. During this whole process, we're being sure to listen to our body, stopping at our soft end, or maybe pulling back to our soft end when we realize that we have pushed all the way to our hard end. And even if that soft end isn't even anywhere near where we think it should be, let's stop there. So that was pretty much the practice. We can take a few minutes now if we'd like, and just take some deep breaths. Maybe we notice the sensations in our body. Maybe we notice the difference between how we felt before we started and how we're feeling now. Maybe we notice something lovely in the room that we haven't noticed in a long time. Maybe we notice a lovely smell. Maybe we notice the smell of our tea or the smell of our essential oils. And maybe, and I hope, we thank ourselves. So I'm going to place my hands on my heart, and I hope that you do the same with me. And I'm going to bow my head to my heart, and I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to say thank you to myself for showing up today and listening. And I'm also going to say thank you to you for doing the same, right? And then I am going to tell you the one thing that I forgot before we go. So another thing that you can do to create this lovely sacred space for yourself is to create a little sacred space for yourself, right? So wherever you're rolling out your yoga mat, you might put one or two of your favorite things there. Maybe you put a picture that you really love, or maybe you put a little knickknack that is important to you, or maybe you put a crystal, if you collect those. Just when I started my first sacred space, it was literally just 3 things that made me very, very happy. And it grew, and now it's all over my house. It's taken over. And now my whole house is my sacred space. But if we are not in a whole house full of sacred space, and even if we are in a whole house full of sacred space, creating a sacred space for our yoga practice specifically can be a great way to get ourselves into the yoga practice, because research shows that our brains take what we see around our house as a signal of who we are as people. So if we create a sacred space to do yoga in, if we create a space that says, hey, this is where I sit and take care of myself, this is it, this is the place, then our brain goes, oh, we must be the type of person who sits and takes care of ourselves. Good to know. And then every day when you see that sacred space, you remember that you're the type of person who takes care of yourself. You remember that you're the type of person who stops and asks what you need. And you remember that you're the type of person who not only stops and asks what you need, but offers it. And you remember that you're the type of person who not only stops and asks what you need and then offers it, you do so without judgment, and you do so without frustration or shame. That it's okay to have needs, and it's okay to ascertain those needs, and it's also okay to have those needs met, and all of those things are okay. And not only are they okay, they're great. And I have this spot sitting in my house to remind me how great they are. And so with that, I will leave you, and our next practice will be much less talking and much more moving. So get ready for it. And I'm also really excited to work with these sacred self-care cards. Looky, can you see it? Okay. It's so pretty. Oh, I have to show you the inside of the box. Look at it. Look at this beautifulness. It's so beautiful. It's really just a lovely, lovely deck of cards, and I'm super excited to get into it with you guys. So yeah, I guess that's it, and I'm going to see you next time. I love you so much. Drink your water, take your medicine, listen to yourself, and yeah, I'll see you next time.